Hi everyone, welcome to DCS, Digital Combat Simulator. I am going to do an ACLS landing. But what I want to show is that you do not need to do the TACAN to do the landing. You only need to do the data link radio. So the data link radio is this option here. That's the one you need to be able to do the automatic landing. So we're going to show you the whole process all the way from the start, not just the 2-minute video. So if you're having any trouble, hopefully you know all the steps all the way from a cold and dark. So let's get started and I'll show you all the way from a cold and dark start. So I'm just going to jump in first. Going down to here. 1, 2, 3. Left side. 1, 2, 3 for 2 throttles. Hit F for the flaps. Bring this over by right clicking once and left click once on the parking brake. Going to drag this all the way up to the very top. I'm going to go back here, click that once, and then hold down left shift and E for the ejection seat. Okay, then I'm going to go over to the right side, and I'm just going to bring up the menu. F8, F2, F1. Menu, F8, F5, F1. Just remember to not close the cockpit until you've given those 2 commands. While we're waiting, I'm just going to quickly switch these around. So that's done. Now, if you haven't got a master switch for your external lights, make sure you set one. And then, when you jump into the external view, hit your master switch and you'll notice all your lights will come on. So, left control and C on the keyboard to close the canopy. Now we're going to wait for Jester to do his startup, but while we're doing that we're going to do the left engine. So we'll do the carrier landing, just one chip with the carrier landing while we're waiting. Down here you've got the autopilot. Now if you're trying to do it in advance or quicker, do not hit this engage button until you've got everything else set. So by that I mean, to activate the ACLS landing, at the very end you push N on the keyboard for nose wheel steering, which will activate it. So we'll have a look at that. We're going to do adjust controls, we're going to do search, nose wheel. Do you see this? And whatever you have this set to, nose wheel steering toggle is also the autopilot reference. Whatever you have that set to, do not hit that button until you have hit this here and engaged this. That's the only trick that I have got for you guys. You may find it will just not work unless you've engaged this at the right time. These two have to be set at the right time in the process. So anyway, we're going to go through this start. We've got the brakes off and we've got the engine started, so we can start taxiing around. So we'll do that. We'll just have a look to see if Jester's ready. So I'm going to choose the INS go now. So we'll just sit here and wait for a little bit. So you'll know he's finished the process when he will tell you over the audio, but if you have walked away from the computer and come back or something, all you're doing is hitting A on the keyboard, and if it says abort start, he hasn't finished the process. So when this goes away, you know the INS is complete. So we're just going to sit here for a few moments. We can see we've got the external lights on. We can also still hear him clicking away in the back. We're going to take off at around about 10 today. And then we'll throttle back. The carrier that we've got is located over here. So we're taking off here and I'm going to go to the carrier there. Okay, so now you can notice when you hit A, there's nothing there. So we are ready. And if you didn't hear the voice, hopefully that helps you guys with that little step. Okay, so now we're going to get the throttle and we're going to start bringing it up. We're just keeping an eye down here. I'm putting it up to 10. You can tell noticeable steering is engaged by clicking here. Just to stand again on the keyboard. And we're going to bring the speed up around about 130 to 150. So pull back gently on the joystick. Gear up, flaps up. Okay, so now we're cruising nicely. We're going to start looking at the process to get ready for the landing. So I'm going to go down to here. What I'm going to hit is AWL, and I'm also going to hit landing. Now we're going to get Jester to do what I was talking about with the data link. So we're pushing A on the keyboard, A again. And what we're going to be looking at is this here, number 7, data link radio. This is the only one you need for this to work successfully. So left control and 7 on the keyboard. A lot of people are showing the TACAN, and it's great to do that, but it's not necessary if you just want to learn the process. Once you've learned the process, you can do TACAN, no problem. Now another important part is where you hit the N on the keyboard. You really want to be having all the lights on down here. So there's 3 stages of lights. You need all 3 stages of those lights to come on. If only one stage is on and you hit N, it's not going to work. You need all 3 stages, and it also needs to be a certain distance back from the carrier. You want to be at least over 3, and you also want this to be well lined up, so pretty close to where it should be. So we're now going to start thinking about our other options. So I'm going to bring the hook down. Just left clicking on that. I'm running about 50% fuel. And you can see I'm already starting to try and line it up. So when we hit the ACLS down here, that gave us that information up on the HUD. So the landing and the AWL PCD1. Now the other 2 important ones are over here. So a little bit later we're going to select this and that one. I can put it on ACL already, but I won't enable the autopilot one. Let's have a little look at how we're lining up. Now just be aware of your altitude because we are way too high at the moment. So I'm going to bring this throttle way back. We're going to drop our altitude, and we're also going to put our flaps out. So F on the keyboard, we've got the flaps out. Just check your wings and make sure they're extended. If your wings are not extended, that could be another problem. We want to get rid of anything that could create a problem. I think we can start to see the carrier over there now. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the gear out. You can see our gears coming out. Now, once your speed is in this zone, so from there all the way backwards, you can jump to external view, you can push your countermeasures button, and you'll flip up these, the DLC on the flaps, two of them. Now we're going to think about trying to line ourselves up a little bit more. So we've got hook, gear, DLC. What we haven't got is our auto throttle. So right about now, we're going to hit left control and T on the keyboard. Now if it doesn't enable, another problem is you may not have the throttle up. So you need to have the throttle up just a little bit for it to work. So that's another problem you could run into. So if we turn this off, we'll just test and see if we can enable the auto throttle, left control T. Let's have a look. Yep, it's enabled. So just have to make sure you don't have your throttle at idle. That's another thing just to be aware of. How far out are we? We're pretty close. I'm going to turn right and so now we have auto throttle, we have flaps down, we have the hook down, we have the gear down. You'll notice I was able to enable the auto throttle without putting on the autopilot, so that might be interesting. Just as far as the process goes, we have only enabled the data link radio, we have not put in the TACAN. So that's also something to note. And you'll notice here, we're getting the landing light check. So that's a really good sign that this is operational at the moment, as it stands. So we'll give you an idea when all the lights come on with this approach, but I'll go past and then do a circle. So I'll put on the details. This is 10 nautical miles. Now you'll notice that nothing is coming on here. I only got the landing check. So if we go down to here and we go and put on autopilot now, let's go back and have a look at what lights we've got. So basically, in part of the process, you want to be doing it at the very last thing, which is what we've just done. And you'll notice now, we've got all lights on. 1, 2, 3. So just do those two as your very last steps if you're having any difficulty with it. So that one, and you'll get all your lights up. So if you're having any difficulty trying to get those lights up, that's all I can recommend. So we'll go round. You can see when you're a bit too close, the lights are no longer there. So 0.6, we've got nothing. So we'll go past. And we'll do our circle. So we're going to bring it to about 5 out and then spin around. This is not the full correct procedure, but if you're just trying to work out how to do ACLS, that's what I'm hoping to find out some of those difficulties you may be having with it, which you're not going to pick up in just a 2-minute video. So we're just cruising along. We're in full landing configuration. You wouldn't want to be in full landing configuration at this point, but just for the purposes of getting ready and not having any difficulties, we are. So 1.6, we're going back. We can swing it left a little bit. We're just 2 back at the moment. We're going to go to about 5. .6. Just keep an eye on your altitude. Make sure your altitude is around about where you want it to be starting. So I'm going to start climbing and take the most of this time that I've got at the moment. Seven. 8, so we're about 3.5 at the moment. .2, and we're about 4 now. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that the ACLS will enable. Okay, so altitude is more than fine now. We can in fact lose a little bit of altitude just as we go around, but we'll go spin it. It's looking at 4.5, now it's just hit 5, so we're ready. .2. Let's see if we can get it and capture it. Now we're watching the lights. We're watching the lights down here. We need all 3 of them. So if you're pushing N now, it will not work. So hopefully that's starting to make some sense. Keep an eye on this. Now you need to get these lined up super good as quickly as you can. So I've got to go right, I've got to go down. I'm not in the E bracket at all. So we're pushing down. Pushing down. We're still trying to go right. We won't be going right for very long. I'm pretty certain we'll start coming back. Now you'll notice all 3 lights. We've got all 3 lights. So we'll only just help it out just a little bit bring it to about here, and then at 3.2 I'm going to hit N on the keyboard. And you'll see now it said Command Control. And you can see the difficulty it's having. Just trying to level it up. So when you don't start it off already in those brackets and on a nice slope down, it has a lot of difficulty starting to try and get it into position. You can see we're sort of wobbling all over the place. So we're going to turn that off and we're going to go around for another attempt in just a bit. You can turn it off just by using the joystick and you'll get your control back. So remember, anything looking wrong or bad about the approach, you can still get manual control and take over. Maybe something happened on deck. So we're going to go around. And we'll show it again. So we're going to go to about 5 out, but this time we're going to try and get onto the cues much quicker. So we're just heading out. We've got to about 2.1. I'll just very slowly start turning it. So 3. So around about the right altitude, we're about 1.3, 1.4. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a good idea. 3.3, 1.3, 1.4 is the correct altitude. At 1.4, at 3.5, 1.4 at 3.5. If you're going back further than that, and we can pretty much hit the end at the 3.5, so if you just want to keep going along 1.4, 1.5, then push the end when it intersects, then all you have to worry about is getting it straight. You've already got your altitude held. And just let that top bar come down to you. So we're now at 5. We're again at 5. So I'm going to make the turn. We'll see how this goes. 1.3. We're on the E bracket this time. altitude is about 1.4. Now all I'm going to be looking at is I'm waiting for these lights, and I'm going to be looking at this information. You can also look at down here, but I'm going to look at this information. Because we've got a bright and sunny day, we might as well take advantage of that. So we would be too low at 4.8 because we're waiting for it to come down to us. Now if you can see that you're going to have to start turning soon, then you can start doing that. You don't have to wait for the line, because that line's going to move very quickly. So you can see I already had put it into that mode of turning, and now we're just letting the line catch up to us, but we're already in the turn. And so now we're there. So now what we're trying to do is wait for this line to come down to our altitude. We're holding the E bracket. We're already lined up with this vertical. So now we're just waiting for this line to come down to us. We're going to keep ourselves held in the C bracket. And then we've got 3 lights down here. 1, 2, 3. So almost at this point we can hit N at any point we want. We've got the E bracket, we've got this line coming down to us, and we've got all lights. And we're now sitting at around about 2.5, so I'm going to hit N on the keyboard. So I've just hit N, and you'll see it'll take over. It still does a little bit of adjustment, but we left it in a pretty good position to start with. Now let's watch it go in. Is it better than flying it in yourself? Well, I think flying it in yourself is a lot more fun. But there is definitely times when this is going to be needed. Okay, so you get ready to put it onto military power, or do any minor adjustments that you need at the last moment. And we're down. And that's how we did the landing. And you'll notice the only thing we used then, it's a 4-wire, but the only thing we used then was the data link radio. We did not use the TACAM. We only needed the data link radio. So hopefully that explains that if you're just trying to learn the process and work out what you need to do. So we're on to the carrier. We'll do this for shutdown, and we'll show that. So I'm just going to put the gear up. Normally you'll be doing this a lot quicker. Hitting N on the keyboard for the nose wheel steering now. We'll steer it over this way. Okay, so we're now off. So we're just going to bring our throttle back. First thing we're going to do is enable our parking brake. Just down here, our parking brake. Then we're going to put our lights down. Now to turn the engines off, you're just clicking once here and you're clicking once here. But I'm going to close the wings first, so I'm going to bring the flaps up. Left shift F on the keyboard. Once that's done, I can bring these down to here. Watch the wings close. That's that. Okay, now we can go to the last step in a moment. In fact, let's have a look. I'm going to bring the wings back out. No, we don't need to. I'm going to bring the wings out. I'm just going to show the DLS. So the data's gone. So you bring the flaps down. Once your flaps are down, DLC, then push your countermeasures button, and you can now see these here are your two flaps. Okay, so now I'm going to close the flaps. Then I'm going to sweep the wings back. Then we're going to put it down, and then we're going to drag it the rest of the way. And we'll close this. Now we can open the canopy. Put that back onto TACAN. That's off. This is off. We can turn these three off. And you'll notice the engines are still running. So we're going to left click. And then I'm going to left click. And we can at least shut down the engines. But we're safely on the deck. Hopefully you have a good idea of what DLC is, and you also have a really good idea of what ACLS is, and some of the difficulty you can run into while trying to do that. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe. I hope this video helped explain a little bit more if you didn't quite get it in any of the shorter videos that have been made on the topic of ACLS, and you've seen it now from a full takeoff, cold and dark, all the way to landing and then turning the engines off. Feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. Later.